What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube. And today I've got some TV talk. I haven't done a TV segment to review any TV shows in quite a long time, but I wanted to close 2019 and open 2020 with, in my opinion, what was probably the best show, the best season of any show in 2019, and one of my personal favorite seasons of any show all time. I know that is wide praise, having seen a lot of TV, but there's a particular season of a show that just came out that I enjoyed so much that I wanted to bring you guys a review of it while it was still pretty fresh. First of all, Happy New Year. I hope you guys closed 2019 with a lot of blessings and a happy, safe New Year celebration. And I hope that 2020 brings you guys all the love and all the things you guys could want in life. I am here supporting your goals and dreams. Now, I want to talk to you guys about Netflix's You Season 2. Now, You Season 1 came out, I think, in 2017, I believe, on Lifetime, and then came out on Netflix in 2018 and swept the nation. I guess nobody heard of it on Lifetime, but had heard of it through Netflix in 2018. So Lifetime, I think, discontinued the show, and Netflix picked it up for their own distribution for Season 2, to make their own Season 2. So Season 2 of this show, You, came out about a week or so ago on Netflix to end 2019. Now, this review is going to be spoiler-free until the end. I'll let you guys know when I'm doing spoilers, but I want to do this briefly spoiler-free for you guys about Season 2. But in order to talk about Season 2 and why I loved it so much, I have to kind of spoil Season 1. So if you guys have not seen Season 1 yet, turn this review off and go watch Season 1, because I will spoil parts of Season 1 to talk about Season 2. The basic overview of You Season 1 is Joe Goldberg, this guy who's handsome, charming, kind, seemingly is a bit stalkerish and has this repetitive thing that he does where he picks out a girl, obsesses over her, and stalks her, where he does these internal monologues where they have voiceovers talking on the screen, explaining his thought process while he stalks and tries to plant himself in the life of somebody he falls in love with. It's very reminiscent of like Psycho and Maniac and Bates Motel especially. It kind of goes back in flashbacks and shows you Joe Goldberg's past, kind of the reasons why he's so sick and twisted. But he also, again, has this charisma and charm that makes you want to fall for this character. So it's these layers of this outwardly positive guy who's inwardly tormented as he tries to stalk this girl, but kind of does so in his mind for what he thinks is the right reasons. In Season 1, he finds himself stalking this prospecting author called Guinevere Beck, who they both kind of have ups and downs in their relationship. She eventually falls for him. Toward the end of the season, she finds out what his plot is. Again, spoilers coming for Season 1. She finds out what he is. He has this storage unit where he has this like self-containing human prison in the basement of this bookstore that he works at. He finds out that she knows who he is. He captures her and eventually kills her. And throughout Season 1, they talk about his previous girl that he fell in love with who disappeared mysteriously, and her name was Candace Stone. Well, after he kills Guinevere Beck, in the finale of Season 1, Candace Stone appears out of nowhere, seemingly not dead, and wanting to talk to Joe Goldberg as Season 1 goes off the air. So why I love Season 1, and especially Season 2, is the layers of the characters. Especially Joe. He's a bad guy. He stalks women. He kills people for what he thinks is love. He kills people for what he thinks is to protect the person he loves. But he doesn't harm good people. It's only people that are in his way and people that are seemingly bad are the ones that he harms. He has a good relationship with a next-door neighbor character who's a young boy who's also being abused just like Joe was when he was a young boy. So he protects good people, and he protects people that he sees himself in. But he also harms people that he thinks are bad, but he still is a murderer and a stalker. So it's this layers of this guy that does some good things and does some bad things to bad people, but he's still kind of a bad person himself, but in his mind he's doing it for a good reason. So that layer makes his character and all the other characters realistic and complex. Now, Season 2 has a lot of that as well. We open Season 2, spoiler-free. Season 2 kicks off with him trying to escape Candace. He moves to the one place he knows that Candace won't look because she knows he hates this place, Los Angeles. He moves to a new place and wants to give himself a fresh start. So he goes to LA, goes to LA. I have a little bit of a cold here. goes to LA, rents a new place in Los Angeles where he can start over and not fall for anybody. So he recognizes his bad things about his obsessive tendencies, and he moves to a new place where he can get over his old patterns and start fresh. In doing so, he finds a new girl that he falls for. So the pattern kind of starts over again. So the season introduces you to his new love interest as he tries to avoid being the old Joe and starts falling back into his new patterns. And they also show you his new neighbors that have a lot of layers to them, including a new young teenage character who Joe wants to protect again, and shows you kind of the ins and outs of the character that he falls for, his journey to not be the old Joe and falling back into his old ways, and his journey of trying to now escape a person who's now chasing him as they become the pursuer and he becomes the fleer. So it kind of turns season 1 on its head. I can't say much more about the show without spoiling it, so I'm going to wrap up the spoiler-free portion of this show by saying, in my opinion, based on the characters, based on tying in things to season 1, the use of flashbacks and flash forwards while not being too in your face about it, the layers to these characters, and how things finish up, I would give this show my first ever 10 out of 10. I don't think I've given a 10 out of 10 on a current film or TV show review that I've done ever on this channel. It is my first 10 out of 10. The pacing, the narrative, the editing, the use of flashbacks, the acting is on point. All the new characters tie in and make sense. They use flashbacks to season 1. They use flashbacks to Joe's childhood. They unveil characters and layers in depth and black and white and gray area that you don't see in many other shows. This show is easy, it's fun, it's addictive, it is a perfect 10 out of 10 season. I think season 1 was an 8 out of 10 for me just because of the way it ended, kind of killing off the Beck character without showing it on screen and kind of being too abrupt. Kind of finished season 1 a little too quickly for me. So I gave that an 8 out of 10. This season, 10 out of 10. Now, I'm going to spoil and talk about and ramble about some of the journeys of these characters so that you guys can truly understand why I love this show. So, if you have not seen season 2, turn this video off and go watch it. Just like season 1, it's only 10 episodes, 45 minutes apiece, a very fast, easy watch. Go watch season 2 if you haven't seen it. Now, if you have already binged it like I have, I'm going to talk about spoilers. So here we go. I love the Joe Goldberg character. He starts off fresh, stealing somebody's identity in Will Bettelheim, who he traps this Will Bettelheim guy, played by Gotham's Penguin, in his little cage downstairs, his human cage contraption that he's built again here in season 2. And Will Bettelheim, in spite of being trapped by Joe, sees good in Joe. So when Joe lets him out eventually and steals his identity, Will escapes, goes off to a new place, and sees good in Joe and keeps in touch with Joe, and they talk on the phone, and Will convinces Joe to do the right thing. And Joe wants to be a good guy for Will, because in spite of assaulting and capturing Will, Will sees good in Joe, so Joe wants to live up to his new friend expectations of him. So even though Joe is still a guy who captured somebody to steal their identity, and he has to work with him throughout the season, he lets him go without further injuring him, and keeps in touch with him as Will goes to live his dream, and Joe tries to be a better version of himself. So again, it's a bad guy doing bad things, but who makes friends and tries to live up to his good name, and wants to be good for his friend. Also, he makes friends with the 2 next-door neighbors in the building, Delilah Alvarez, and her little sister, Ellie Alvarez. Delilah is kind of a mess. She doesn't have her life together. She manages this building and she wants to be good, but she's been assaulted by a man in the past, and she has to raise her little sister on her own, who's also a handful. So you see stressful layers of Delilah, but also wanting to find connection, wanting to get her life together, getting over past traumas. Ellie, the little sister, is this 15-year-old who is way smarter and way wittier and way more charming and way more educated for her own good, who's this socialite who has surface levels of just like sass and sarcasm, but also has dreams of wanting to get her life together. And so you see the good and bad, and the reasons why she puts up this defense mechanism wall of sarcasm is because of having lost her parents and dealing with her older sister and trying to restore their family. So you see layers of that with her. In the end, Joe starts to stalk Love Quinn. That's his new person that he finds, Love Quinn. He eventually connects with Love and her mess of a brother, 40 Quinn, who are these rich coffee shop owners. and Joe falls for Love. Love finds out that he's going by the Will Bettelheim name, and you would think that she's going to leave Joe once she finds out that he's committed a murder in the past. She doesn't. Candace, the Candace character from last season, finds Joe in Los Angeles, tries to hook up with Love's brother 40, this socialite who is seeking his parents' love, but he wants to be this. He's this crazy, drugged up, coked out film director and writer who wants to make it big, but you see that he's only this way because his parents never gave him love, and he wants to succeed in the business. He feels pressure. So anyway, Candace manipulates 40 under a new identity. She assumes a new identity to fall in love with 40 so that she can worm her way into Joe's life again, protect them, and expose Joe. So she does the same thing that Joe does. So here's this good character who we find out that Joe left for dead in season 1, who had to fake her own death and come back, who you think is this good person who's been tormented, but she's now doing bad things by faking an identity, pretending to fall in love with somebody, and stalking and trying to kill Joe, doing the same thing that Joe does. So it's a good person who's been tormented, who's trying in a way to protect people, but also trying to harm people and lie her way to doing it. So you get layers of her character. In the end, they all find out that Joe's a liar and a murderer. So Ellie, the little sister who Joe loves and protects, and gives her money to go away and flee and save herself, eventually hates Joe, but he risks telling her the truth and her hating him just for her to be able to go off and live a life with money and be safe and be out of this crazy Quinn drama they got themselves into. And Love Quinn actually murders Candace. So after